So welcome to Yoga While We Zoom. So the purpose of this class is to give us some stuff that we can do while we're spending so much time sitting. Welcome to my kitchen. So I'm going to read our waiver and then we're going to begin. So in order to make these classes as freely accessible as possible to our participants, we will be using a verbal warning and assumption of risk at the beginning of the class. Participation in this online class is voluntary. Physical activity programs may result in injury, and by participating, you assume the risk of injury that may result from your participation. We strongly recommend that you participate from a space that is suitable for this activity. For example, make sure that you've moved nearby furniture and other potential hazards. If you are participating in a yoga class that involves laying on the ground, we recommend using a mat. And if you don't have a mat, laying on the ground with a carpeted area. Participants are encouraged to stop if they experience pain or injury and should seek appropriate medical attention as needed. William and Mary Health and Wellness strongly recommends that each participant have an annual physical exam and follow the advice of their healthcare provider before participating. So, here we are. As many of us are spending way more time in front of the computer, not getting the luxury of walking across campus or walking to where we're going, my first suggestion is I'm looking out at the woods behind my house. So I've purposely situated myself here so that I have this view, knowing that during most of the time when I'm in meetings now, I'm not getting that luxury of walking out in nature as much as I usually do. Second is my glass of water is here. Noting that when many of us are spending time sitting here in class or a meeting, that we're probably not drinking as much water. So making sure that you have that available to you always. Remembering that dehydration causes a lot of different things, so we want to make sure that we're well hydrated. The other thing is noticing how you're sitting when you're sitting in your meetings, as we're spending way time doing that, making sure if it's available that the feet can sit on the floor, finding the sits bones on your chair and elongating the spine. The beauty of the screen is if you have it on for you, you can see if your shoulders are even in height. You can see that your chin is neutral. You can reach the crown of your head, engaging the core. We know as we engage the core, we're burning more too. A few more calories burned while sitting won't hurt any of us. And then remembering your breath. As we sometimes sit in meetings and classes and spend a lot of time listening, it's beautiful to just start to turn on that yogic breath. And maybe playing with a breath that you're working on, remembering different breaths, do different things. If you're feeling a little anxious, maybe starting to turn on that parasympathetic nervous system. Finding a nice even breath like we use in our Yin practice. Nice deep inhales, nice long exhales. If you're feeling a little bit tired, maybe it's getting a little long and you need a little energy, maybe a little skull shining breath or a little breath of fire, a breath that's going to ignite that inner fire. Letting yourself use your breath. And then I always like to keep a few things around that I can use as props. So today I've got like a little kitchen towel. I've got a single tennis ball. I've got 2 tennis balls and a sock. And then a little TheraBand here. And we'll play with these in a little bit. But taking the time right now to just sit up nice and straight. Bring the shoulders over the hips. Allow yourself to let the spine elongate. So if your chair has a back, you're not using the back, you're using your core to hold you up. And then as you're seated in the chair, there's so many things that you can do as you move through. You can do some cat and cow. I'm gonna place my hands on the counter that's here. And I'm placing my hands here too, so I get a nice stretch in my hands. So doing a little double duty. I'm gonna hug my elbows in so I get a little length in the spine. And then moving through some cat and cow, keeping my feet nice and planted on the floor. Sometimes as we sit, we need this just to kind of reset. And you can always too, once you come back to your seated mountain, do some wrist circles. You can flip the palms, stretch the back of the palms, all while you're in this seated mountain. Then working a little bit across the upper shoulders and neck, keeping the chin nice and neutral, just turning the neck gently side to side. Taking some time for some space in the center, drawing the chin in towards the collarbone and then lifting the chin back up, elongating the neck on both sides equally. Noticing that if you're drawing the chin in towards the collarbone, you're not getting the rounding of the back as if you were drawing the chin in towards the chest. So just changing it just a little bit as you're seated here. And just notice that. Getting a little bit more lengthening along the back. As most of us sit here, we spend more time like this with the rounding. We don't need any of that, so just the elongating. Then you can always too add in some nice thoracic twists. So with that core engaged, think of the movement coming from the bottom of the rib cage. If you feel like you want to make it just a little bit more, you can always take a hand and cross it over the body, or sometimes I like to reach for the counter across and then take the other hand and reach behind with the chair. Nice lift in the spine, both sits bones grounded. Starting out maybe with the chin over the chest, and then maybe taking the gaze over the shoulder. Letting yourself counter it. Coming back to center, maybe taking a cat and a cow. And then coming back to that neutral mountain. Then one of the reasons I love having the balls around, and those that attend my classes know that I love the idea of using these for myofascial release. So you can take a ball and place it on the floor and roll it underneath the feet. Probably the most common one we know. But since we also do spend so much time typing, sometimes you need it on your hands. So leaving the ball here, allowing yourself to roll the ball in the hands, maybe squeezing the ball. The other is taking the ball down on to the counter and really rolling into some of the spaces. Maybe the wrist. The counter's slippery today. Good thing my dogs are outside. They'd be chasing us. Squeezing the ball while it's here on the counter. And then the other one I love seated is the double ball. So thus you can take and bring it along the backside, and I'm going to turn so you can see it here. So I sometimes will get a little tension in this space here. So sometimes, because I have this nice high back here, I can hold the top of the sock And rest back a little on the ball and rub across. It feels really good. And this is just 2 tennis balls in a sock. You can move the ball up a little bit, moving into another spot. And then you can too, if you want. I shifted back in the chair and almost like a heart opener. I'm gonna place the balls in between my shoulder blades and just open up a little bit. Just kind of countering the effects of the rounding in that we're doing. If it feels right, you could reach the arms behind. You may have heard my shoulders just crack there. I'm holding on to my wrists. Releasing from that. The other option you can do is I'll flip it upside down now and I'll hold the ball and put the tied end down my back. I'm going to hold on to it, so it's a little bit of a bind here, and I'm going to bring the ball up to my shoulder here while I hold on to it. And then from here, just letting the ball kind of massage across the shoulders. Maybe even just reaching the ear towards that balls. And then of course, countering it by going to the other side, rolling the ball across, and then just reaching the ear over. Sometimes you find a little spot, and if it feels good to just put that on and release some more of the fascia, just going there. Releasing that. And then the other with the towel, kind of the same thing here, but just getting a nice stretch. So reaching back with the towel, drawing back. The beauty of having the screen is you can see, lifting, reversing, going to the other side. Make sure I even myself out here, maybe. Doing the same thing with a heart opener. You can draw it up and back. Releasing the shoulders, coming forwards and backwards. Sometimes when we spend a lot of time sitting and taping, we got some stiffness in the shoulders. This helps to open up and release. Same thing with if you have the TheraBands, you can do all that with the TheraBands, and then sometimes even just drawing across, opening up the chest a little. Same thing on the back side. Same thing on the legs. So you can, with the towel or the TheraBand, hook it over the ball of the foot and just lift the leg up and down, in and out, internal and external rotation of the leg. So for hip opening, let's slide the chair back a little, see if we can see this. So it's kind of that figure 4 here. So lifting the leg up and over. Make sure you have the flexion in the foot, a little wave here on the hand. Could also take the ball and rub the foot here too. Roll the ankle, squeeze the toes. Make sure you do the opposite side. And then if you're feeling like you want to make it a little more active, I love to stand, finding mountain. And in mountain, taking some time to play with postures while you have this amazing prop here, your chair. So if you want, finding a plank, using the chair, lowering the arms, practicing your chaturanga. Standing, maybe practicing, see if I move the chair here, practicing stepping back into a crescent. And the beauty of having the chair here is you can practice being up on the toes of that back foot, pushing the heel back, getting a nice stretch in the arch, the calf, having the hip points pointing forward, challenging yourself. Maybe lowering a knee, building some strength. Keeping your alignment. The beauty of having the screen in front is you get to see. Making sure you counter with the other side. Noticing the differences as you have time to kind of explore it as you hold on to the chair. Of course, you can step into some of your balance poses. Coming into a tree, noticing when a hip comes up a little bit higher, bringing it back down. Using your arms, maybe playing a little bit. Maybe using the chair if you want to deepen the posture. Maybe you'd like to do a figure 4 and come into a seat here, but maybe you'd like to hold on to the chair. Maybe it would help you to stay up a little taller. There's always taking the Warrior Series flow here. So standing maybe up close to the screen, stepping back, opening up into a Warrior 2, reversing your Warrior, maybe spinning around to find that crescent, maybe a little back bend, maybe a little heart opener. Then maybe a little bit of plank. Maybe a modified up dog. Maybe a bit of a modified down dog. Reaching out with the arms, make sure you've got nice bend in the knees. And then making sure you're always engaging the core as you come up and down. Taking the time to stay in your breath, to drink your water. As we're in Zoom, it's a great time to be mindful of your practice. So noting, as you step away, how you really need to focus on what you're doing in order to stay in your meeting and stay alert. So, lastly, one of the beautiful things is getting some nice stretching. So whether or not you're in your chair reaching up, doing quarter sun salutations here. So maybe modified half moons. All of this was familiar to us from being on our mats. maybe a modified down dog from here, where you push your chair out and just stretch long, hinging at the hip crease. Again, making sure coming for a half lift if that feels right. Making sure you're engaging the core, stretching that back. Even just the up and down. Maybe each time deepening it a little more. Maybe it feels right to take the hands and wrap them underneath the legs, coming a little deeper. Resting the abs and the quad on the quads. Coming back up, reaching up. Drawing hands through heart center. Always the gentle reminder, whatever you move through, allowing yourself just a little bit of time to just pause and just notice how even if you did just one pose, one little flow, how it just feels different in your body. Remembering that almost everything we do on our mat, we can modify to whether we're in a high stool, a low chair, standing in front of a counter or a desk, utilizing the things that are around us, whether it be a kitchen towel, it could be the wall, it could be the chair that you're sitting on. But the most important thing that I hope that you take away from this class today is that just having that awareness that even though we're all in maybe a different space that we're used to, in a different format that we're used to, we still need to get up and move, or move while we're seated if necessary. So I thank you all very much for the time today. I hope that some of this you're able to bring into your everyday or your new everydays. As always, it is an honor and a privilege to serve you all. Namaste, everyone.